Good. My name is Joseph Hodges, and I'm going to be presenting my final project for American Literature 252. My final project will be on the author Mark Twain, which we read this summer, some of his works. Um, so I wanted to explore his life and understand where he came from and how his background influenced his stories and his all his work he produced. So I'm going to accomplish this through two analytic drawings to understand this. You might ask, what are analytic drawings? Analytic drawings are used in my current major, which is architecture. They're used to understand a bigger picture of things, a complete narrative. So in architecture, you can't explain a project through just one drawing. There's so many different sides of it. So you would combine elements of plans, perspective, site plans, elevations, put those together in a cohesive drawing that describes the big idea, sort of. Um, and so we use architects use these to paint a big stroke and combine different smaller drawings to create one big one. So I'm going to use this type of drawing to understand Mark Twain's life, where he grew up, what defined his personality, and then how that manifests into his literature. So this drawing I created is basically his life, his growing up. This line, seemingly random line in the middle of the picture that stitches together different pictures I pulled from the internet, is the Mississippi River. And on this star, you can see where the hand's pointing is where he was born on the Mississippi River and grew up. You can see he was very close, and it really defined his childhood. As you can see the right, he would go to the Mississippi for adventure, for fun, to hang out with friends. He was always fascinated about the freedom of the river, and so this would translate into his young life. As a young man, he would work on the steamboat and sail up and down the Mississippi River, finding adventure and loving what he did. And so this would translate into, you see the typewriter on the right, of writing his stories of what he grew up with and creating these very adventurous stories that people love to read. And that would be a big part of his life. And as you can see the hand with the cigar, he was also a humorist, and he saw life through humor. He was once quoted to say, I smoke in moderation, only one cigarette at a time. So like this humorist that he was really the way he looked at life, and a lot of this can be attributed to not taking life so seriously and seeing life as an adventure. And so this white square is encircled by a bigger astronomical, almost celestial entity, because he was born on November 30th, 1835, the day of Halley's Comet, and he died going out with Halley's Comet, and he knew Halley's Comet came every 75 years, and he wanted to die on this special day that he was born on. He wanted to go out on Halley's Comet, which I thought was pretty interesting. How his life was kind of defined by almost destiny. And so that drawing translates into his work. So I did a setting drawing, analytique, of his stories, especially Huckleberry Finn. So I did a juxtaposed ideas of society and basically the outdoors, and what they represent, like societal structure and something that doesn't exist with no structure at all. And so this can be rotated up and down just depending on what you prefer. If you prefer a societal structure, you prefer to be without those, like this structure. So he preferred, especially in his stories he writes, Huck prefers on his adventures on the Mississippi, which is the whole drawing is encapsulated by. He prefers the outdoors. He prefers a life without society, without church, without school. He was just wanted to live as an individual, instead of a collective unit. So that's why the trees are facing up and the town is facing down, because that's what he prefers. And he always saw in all his stories, when he comes into society, it's always troubled waters. That's why the water is kind of turbulent up there. It's more peaceful out in the outdoors where he preferred to be. And in the middle is Jackson's Island, where it's probably one of the most famous islands in the world that's on a river. Just the way he describes it, and the cave that's in it, and all the adventures they had together. So I hope this helps understanding who Mark Twain is, where he came from, and how his life defined his literature. Thank you.